To another episode of Composed Living with Elsa Elbert. I am your host, Elsa, and today my incredible guests are Kate Kimmel and Freddie Swanson. They're the co-founders of the Topanga Farmers Market. I always try to shorten the bios that I read in the beginning, but as I was reading what they sent me, I was like, these are two incredibly powerhouse women. And so I'm going to keep it as short as possible, but definitely read their full bios in the show notes because they've done some incredible work. And hopefully we'll get to talk about some of that with them today. Kate Kimmel, one of the co-founders of the Topanga Farmers Market, has dedicated her career to building community, advancing sustainability, and driving meaningful change. After moving to Topanga in 2015, Kate sought a life rooted in nature, fresh air, and connection. Now raising three children in the canyon, she brings professional experience in public education, philanthropic consulting, and nonprofit leadership to the market. She began her career as a Teach for America Corps member, teaching in underserved Los Angeles schools, and later advised high net worth individuals on strategic philanthropy and served as director of programs at an education nonprofit focused on strengthening family school partnerships and designed programs to support and train public school teachers. Her passion for community building and improving our broken food system led her to co found the Topanga Farmers Market in 2024. Freddie Swanson is the other co founder of the Topanga Farmers Market and a lifelong advocate for community connection and social impact. A Topanga Canyon resident since 1995, Freddie and her husband chose to raise their two daughters surrounded by the natural beauty and tight knit spirit of the canyon. Freddie began her career by launching her own fundraising business, where she worked with major nonprofit organizations, including the ACLU, NRDC, and Planned Parenthood. With over 20 years of experience in nonprofit fundraising and marketing, she has helped to generate millions of dollars to support advocacy, environmental protection, and reproductive rights. At just 14 years old, Freddie authored A Kid's Guide to Giving, a children's book that empowers young readers to make a difference through charitable giving. The book received national attention and was praised by President Clinton for inspiring the next generation of change makers. She also serves on the board of the Topanga Elementary Fundraising Committee, working to expand enrichment opportunities for local students. Wow, both of you are so incredible, and I'm already so inspired and so thankful that you agreed to be guests on today's show. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Elsa.
Of
We've
course.
been we've been a huge fan of composed living and composed giving since its inception. There's a lot of synergies between what you're doing and what we're trying to do. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. I'm delighted, and thank you for that. Freddie, this is my first time sort of meeting you in person. And Kate, of course, we have spent some time together. I love that you were able to launch a farmers market in Topanga. Topanga, for people who don't know or who are not local to Los Angeles, is such a special community within LA that I feel like truly embodies a community spirit in a way that so many other neighborhoods and towns in this area do not. And so it's incredible to meet both of you who are living there and so rooted in that community and also able to like provide more resources for your neighbors. How did you come up with the idea? How did the two of you meet? Just give us a little background on how this got started.
You want to take that one?
So I moved to the Canyon 10 years ago in 2015, and I was pregnant with my first child and had no friends in the Canyon, was not embedded in the community yet. So my first instinct was to go to the farmer's market every week with my baby strapped to my chest and try to meet other like-minded moms. And that was one of the former iterations of the market. And I met another mom who then introduced me to Freddie. So one could say that without the former farmers market, we would not have become friends, or maybe it would have taken a little longer for us to find each other. But since then, we've been raising our families together, and Freddie had another baby and I had two other babies. And now between the two of us, we have 5 kids that we're raising here in the Canyon. And the former farmers market closed. Farmers markets are a really incredibly sensitive ecosystem. So it just kind of got off balance and vendors dropped out, customers stopped going. But I think at the time, the Topanga community wasn't big enough to support a small farmers market. It couldn't continue on. So it fizzled out right before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened, and Freddie and I were just talking one day, and we were like, wait a second, why hasn't the farmers market restarted? The pandemic has, is over, life is going on. And then we had the crazy idea to restart it. And that was in 2023. And in March 2024, we opened the new iteration of the Topanga Farmers Market, which is still going strong today.
Yeah, I think it took us a few months of complaining that we wish we had a farmers market in Topanga. And eventually I think we realized that nobody was going to do it. And we talked to the community center and they basically said, well, you guys could do it. So it was a little bit of a harebrained scheme, but we knew it had been done before. And we felt that we could learn from some of, the reasons that the last one closed, and we could make it a little bigger and a little better. And it kind of unfurled one step at a time. We didn't really know what we were getting into. Obviously, we'd never run a farmer's market before. And knowing everything that we know now, we should have been completely terrified. But because it's a huge undertaking. I mean, this is a massive operation with over 45 farms and artisans, and it's like throwing a wedding every weekend sometimes. But we took it one step at a time. We did it. Luckily, we didn't know the work involved initially. So we blindly stepped into it, and we ended up taking a year to launch it, which I think was really, really helpful, because in that year, it was kind of a really huge learning experience, and we were kind of able to launch on somewhat solid ground by that point.
Yeah, we considered that first year like our research and development year, and spent a significant amount of time in other farmers markets. And
Significant.
like a lot, like almost every day of the week, we were at a farmer's market, just meeting people, talking to people, just gathering as much information as possible from customers, from farmers, from like vendors, from other market managers. We just started compiling our own dream, like a list of what a dream farmer's market would be, what we wanted to borrow and emulate from other highly successful, beautiful farmers markets, but then also what we wanted to bring to the next level at our market, or what we wanted to tweak or change. So that year was just a lot of like kind of hitting the pavement. What was really cool about one big discovery we made during that year was that the farmers market industry is one of the only industries left in 2025 where most communication and relationship building takes place in person. So emails and texts and phone calls are not the way to build a farmer's market. You really have to build it from the ground up, in person, face to face, building trust with farmers and food makers and customers in person. So that was, we learned that the hard way, but it took a longer, but it was also ended up being a beautiful discovery, because what industry, I mean, like name another industry where email hasn't taken over, or where Zoom calls are the main mode of communication or collaboration. Farmers markets are all in person still, and even the back end work is all in person. So was a pretty difficult but also beautiful discovery for us.
I love that. It's the good old fashioned way. And also in a time period where there's so much research being done on a different sort of pandemic of loneliness and people feeling so disconnected, or the amount of overwhelm and stress that comes from the sheer amount of time that we spend now with technology and not outside in nature or in community. It's what a beautiful antidote to all of those things. Uh, and like think it's just hearing you describe that was like, it's so beautiful that you are out in person and you're meeting with people face to face. And I think that still remains the fastest way to build trust with people. I think there's, even in like the whole school of leadership studies, it is possible to manage a team and to build community virtually, but there's also no replacement for what happens when you have in-person connection. And I think, at the very minimum, most organizations should be doing some sort of a hybrid combination of like, you have to know your team in person, you have to be able to see their struggles with your own eyes and experience what they're going through. But it also just sounds like really lovely to me that you're out there talking to people who are shopping, talking to the farmers, the food makers, the artisans, uh, and giving them a space to sell their goods and to feel welcomed into a part of a community and to sustain their own livelihoods. That's incredible. So you mentioned a dream list of what your farmer's market would look like after you sort of did this year of research. What were some of the things that were on your list that you weren't seeing in other places?
Okay, really good question. Well, we're refining this list daily, but if we were to give you a high level list, we would say we wanted to have really high standards, especially in this day and age when there's so many options for food and what to feed your family. We wanted to go back to like the roots of like food grown from the earth, very locally with the least amount of travel.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was number one.
yeah, so like forming relationships with the closest farms, organic farms, or farms that use organic practices, and having those farms travel to our market was huge. And I think we have a really highly curated, really amazing collection of farms that come to our canyon every Friday morning that you can only find so very few other places in the area. The statistic that we love, most vegetables and fruit travel over 1,500 miles in our country from where they're grown to where they're purchased. But at a farmer's market, one of our local farms is 20 miles away from Topanga Canyon, and the number doesn't go that much higher up for our other farms. So that alone, we know, is a huge what makes our market different and what makes it a dream market. The amount of nutrition lost in produce after it's picked is crazy. And Freddie and I didn't know a lot of this before we started getting into why our farmers market's important. But there's a study on spinach that when spinach is first picked, there's 100% vitamin C composition. And over like the 7 to 14 days of travel, that spinach loses 100% of its vitamin C content. So by the time you buy it in the grocery store, it's void of nutrients, but you're still paying for that produce. So it's like what's left. But if you go to a farmer's market, that spinach was picked either the night before or the morning of the market. It could not get more fresh and it could not get more nutrient dense. So that's what we wanted to bring to our community.
Mm-hmm. Nutrient
dense food that doesn't travel far away. And we wanted to bring it to not just our community of Topanga Canyon, but bring folks into Topanga Canyon to benefit from this resource. The
Just
second
to
thing we want
really drive
yeah.
home the point, I didn't know that about the nutrients that being that significant of a drop. I think I had like a general awareness that, the closer to the time your food is harvested, the better it is for you. But just, I think it's obvious in case our listeners do not understand, like the environmental impact of your food traveling 1,500 miles to come to you is significant. So now we're talking about refrigerated delivery trucks, the
Yeah.
amount of gas and emissions that are happening just to get your food from one place to another. We also import food from other countries. Like there's so much that's happening. So the more we can shorten that distance, not only is your food going to be more nutrient dense, which is amazing. Like who doesn't want like why are we eating fruits and vegetables if there's nothing left in
Definitely.
them? Uh, that part is beautiful, being able to have healthy organic food that is nutrient dense for your family, but really also like thinking about where did your food actually come from? Like, did it come from a small family owned farm? And how far did it have to travel to get to you? So I love
Yeah.
farmers markets for both of those reasons. That's extraordinary.
And I think the environmental impact brings us to our second priority, our second item on our wish list, which is sustainability and environmental impact. From the beginning, we knew we wanted to be a low waste market. It's very much in line with kind of the ethos and the feel of the canyon in general. We live in a beautiful place. We are very much connected to the environment in Topanga and the mountains and in nature. And we wanted to build a market that reflected that. That was one of the bigger struggles that we had. Most of the vendors operate at local markets that are not low waste, and they use plastic bags, a lot of plastic packaging. There's a lot of waste after each market. We wanted to be a zero waste market, and we're still working towards that goal. And right now we're very proud to be a very low waste market. Mm-hmm. We have pretty much converted every vendor to use recyclable or like paper-based packaging. to use reusable bags. We supply at our own manager's booth like a take a bag, leave a bag program. And so we've really gotten a lot of vendors, even some hard-headed ones, on board with this program, and we've had great feedback from our community because of it. And we're really trying to be a model of sustainability for more markets in California and across the US by implementing this. Some of our prepared food artisans, they used to package their things in plastic containers. Now they use glass ones, and our customers will actually bring them back, and they'll be washed and they'll be used again. So we've kind of
Amazing.
created a more of a closed loop system. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think that we were surprised by how difficult it was going to be to create a low waste, zero waste market. But we still are holding the bar high.
Mhm.
There's so many things working against Americans and business owners in general when trying to be more sustainable. One is that it's way less expensive to buy cheap plastic packaging. So when we talk to our farmers, they explain to us like to buy those berry baskets, the green ones that are made out of plastic that aren't recyclable. When to buy those, it's like it's pennies, but to buy the paper ones, it's like almost $1. So
Yeah.
there's a huge loss in profit. And the margins that our farmers work with are so slim that makes a big difference. So we're working against that. So we're, working together with our farmers to see like, can we tighten up someplace else or have them pay a smaller percentage to us as the market so that they can afford to buy the more expensive but more eco-conscious packaging. Then also, I think a lot of our food vendors are realizing that packaging products in glass makes them more appealing. It makes them more it preserves the flavor and the taste better. You don't get that plastic flavor. Like if you're going to be putting a very high quality, beautiful product into a plastic container, it takes the quality down the second you put it in that plastic container. So I think a lot of our food makers and farmers are realizing that using paper packaging, using glass packaging is actually like elevating their product, making it more desirable to customers, and they're selling more. And it's more beautiful to photograph. But it does cost more. And there's a lot of glass breaks more easily. Paper doesn't keep vegetables as fresh. So when you're working with food, there are a lot of barriers because plastic actually does keep food more fresh. So there's a lot we're working against a lot, but we're holding our ground and we've made a lot of progress. And every once in a while you'll show up at our market and there'll be a vendor that has a roll of plastic bags up. And we're not like militant about it, but we are trying to make change incrementally and explain why we don't like plastic. And it's not just an aesthetic reason, it's for our health and it's for the environment and trying to make a better market. And we're trying to set an example for other markets. So it's an uphill battle, but we're not going to give up. We're continuing the battle.
And luckily we come from a community that really supports that and encourages that and appreciates that. So, it's been very well received. So I think the farms are feeling that they're still selling a lot of product and probably even more in the glass containers. And they're participating in this, bring back your jar program, which is really great as well.
Have you heard any feedback from any of the farmers or vendors who have made this switch at your market that they have also done that in other markets where they might be vendors?
Yeah, I think our pickle vendor
Yeah.
is a good example. When we first met them, they had some things in glass jars and some things in plastic. And we asked them, like, we would really love for you to be at our market, but would it be possible to use glass jars for all of your products? And they were hesitant at first because they have a higher level of loss. If a box gets like put down too much pressure, then they can lose like an entire box of pickles, like hundreds of dollars worth of product and a profit loss. So, but they were willing to try with us. And then I think now more of their markets, they package in glass and their profits are up. So
That's
I think,
awesome.
yeah.
I mean, I personally, I think why we're so aligned is sustainability is also one of my core values as a person and as a business owner. And absolutely, I mean, the struggle is so real to try and find vendors for the composed living storefront that are completely plastic free. I get such a kick out of it. Like, I wake up really early in the morning and I do all like research, and I'm always trying to find cool makers who have similar brand things. But, I worked when we first launched the store. I found this beautiful paper company that all of the greeting cards they make are recycled paper. All of the inks they use are vegetable based. Like, it was such a beautiful, like, sort of zero waste situation. And then they shipped me the cards and they all came in an individual plastic sleeve.
No.
It's like, what are we doing? But then I
Right. I
emailed
think,
her and was like, I don't want that. And I'm not going to buy from you if it comes in that. Like, I'm
no.
not, what do you want me to do? I can't say that we're a plastic free store and then have your greeting cards in these sleeves. But I also, like, I'm not just going to throw them in the trash. And that's, a material that's also not recyclable or very difficult to recycle through city programs. And she changed it. She was like, no problem. And now I see that, like, for everyone, when they order, they have the option to come in the little cellophane sleeve or not. So I love those little moments, or finding companies that are doing really cool, innovative stuff with making things that feel like plastic and have the sturdiness of plastic, but they're made out of plant-based materials. We sell a lot of kitchen products that are like that. But as a human, if I'm at a farmer's market and I have the option to buy pickles in a plastic tub or in a glass jar, I look at the glass and I think, even if it's $1 more expensive or $2 more, that's something that I'm going to reuse. Like, I'll make a batch of soup and I'll freeze it in that, or I'll use it for floating candles, like whatever. There's so many different ways that you can repurpose those jars or refill it, gift it to somebody else. So I'm always willing to do that. And I feel like a lot of the Topanga community probably feels the same, especially about glass. It's sort of like infinitely reusable.
Yeah, we our yogurt vendor, if you bring the glasses back, you get a discount on the next yogurt that you buy. So
Yeah.
you definitely the customer benefits in that way. Freddie and I
awesome.
spent a really long time looking for hummus in non-plastic container, and we had such a hard time finding it. And we found like one producer in like small batch hummus company in the Bay Area, but like the logistics of getting it down to our market were just not worth it carbon footprint wise. And then after we were like, hey, let's pause on the hummus search. Like, this doesn't exist. That's crazy. You can't buy hummus in glass. Even at like really fancy grocery stores, like they don't have
I've never
hummus in
seen it.
glass. So, and then right?
Yeah.
Why? And then our yogurt vendor, who like makes some of the best yogurt in, California, was like, wait, I make hummus. We were like, what? Can you put it in glass for us? And he's like, sure, I'll bring it next week. And it was like a perfect solution.
It was pretty great.
Yeah, so we have hummus and glass. So for all of you like plastic haters, come get hummus and glass at our farmers market because you can't get it
love
anywhere
that.
else.
Also,
I
this is
know.
the beauty of the in-person connection and community, right? Like, now you work with this vendor, they're seeing the upside of using glass for their products, and you're able to have a conversation. I think that's how beautiful.
Definitely.
What else? Anything else on your list? Or do you have any vendors that you're still on the search
We have
for?
we have more kind of like what makes our market unique and what we've been trying to
Our
like
wish list.
solve for. Like,
Yeah.
how do we make this market the best possible farmers market we can make? We think that the most important part about a farmers market is that we're farmer and food maker focused. So Freddie and I aren't business women. We're not like, don't learn from us about starting your own profitable business, but learn from us about starting your own thoughtful, conscious business that's going to support the people who you work with as humans and as entrepreneurs. So we see our farmers market as an umbrella business for hundreds of small business owners. So at the end of the day, like when we look at our making decisions, we always say like, how is this going to benefit the 45 small
Mhm.
businesses that are functioning under our farmers market, and how is it going to make their businesses thrive? And sometimes what happens is that farmers markets lose sight of that, and they don't prioritize like the health of the small businesses that are actually underneath the farmers market, like the vendors and the farmers who are working and driving from very far away to come to the farmers market every Friday morning. That's who we want to be successful. And if they are successful, then we will be successful. So we make all of our decisions, or at least we try to, based on, is this going to benefit all the really hardworking small businesses that use our farmers market as their place of business every Friday morning? If our market's not busy, if they don't have enough customers on Friday morning, they lose profits on Friday morning that they rely on for their weekly income and for the health of their businesses. So we make choices based on how we're supporting the small businesses that we have hand selected. And then community. We think community is everything. In this day and age, in the state of things that we're in right now in 2025 in our country, community and small groupings and gatherings of community are the most important thing we could be doing right now. The farmers market is a place where you can hug your neighbor, you can know the first name of the farmers that are growing your food. You can provide a convening place where it might be your only like personal social interaction all week, where you can talk to like-minded people, you can exchange ideas, you can learn something new about the world or about how your food is grown. You can connect with a local nonprofit that you wouldn't have face-to-face connection with otherwise. Every week we try to host a local or regional nonprofit at our market so that they can have interaction with our customers. So yeah, community. We have a woman who comes from Topanga, a local elder from our community, who comes to the market every week because it's her only time that she gets to talk to other people in person. And she makes it up the hill to our market every week because it's important to her health and wellness. We have another family who the mom and dad live apart, and they exchange their son every Friday morning at the farmers market in like this really healthy, beautiful community gathering. We have a preschool that visits our farmers market every Friday and gets to talk to farmers about where the food was grown. It's like a beautiful collection of people that come to the top of this hill every Friday morning, and there are very few places left in our world where you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, we want it to be more than just grocery shopping. We wanted to provide a community gathering space and also a wide array of community services, which we're constantly trying to think of new ways to provide services to the community. We have children's music programming every other market. So all these little preschoolers come and gather under the oaks and they can sing and play instruments together. We have things like clothing mending. We have, yes, a whole host of nonprofits. We do a clothing swap rack at our manager's booth. So you can like take something, leave something. We're doing produce boxes with World Central Kitchen. So we're constantly trying to offer things to our community that you wouldn't just get at a grocery store. And at a bare minimum, it's a gathering space. It's seeing your friends and neighbors. But we've been slowly, as a market, evolving to include all of these new services, electronic waste recycling, things like that, that can just help our friends and neighbors and give them another reason to come. So they can come for their cup of coffee and to see one another. They can come for their grocery shopping, but they can do all these other things too.
I have so many questions. Uh, like as you're both talking, I'm like, okay, don't forget this, don't forget this.
Let's
My
hear it.
first reaction is we're such kindred spirits. And I think the minute I was introduced to Kate, I was like, oh, this is just a person that I'm going to love and have so much in common with. Uh, I, I have the nonprofit side of what we do is compose giving. And in our storefront, that's where we run the nonprofit side. So we have a clothing swap closet. We try to educate people on just sustainable practices. I love that you have a mender at your farmers market because so many items that get donated just need like a button sewn back on or a zipper fixed or just maybe like re-dye it so that it is no longer stained and
She's
is usable
actually
again.
we bring her stuff off our swap rack that's like got a whole tiny hole or a
Yeah.
tear. It's missing a piece of the embroidery, and she fixes it right there, and we put it back on the rack.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
And it's like such a beautiful, simple way to keep things in circulation for longer. But we're all busy people. And, I let me take it all the way back. I think it is a leader's responsibility to heal the community that they're serving. And ultimately, it's only through that healing of other people or providing them an opportunity for healing that you're going to see a community build and also grow and be healthy. So, when you translate that to a profitable business, I have always started from like, I'm not thinking about how much money we're going to make off of this. I'm thinking about what's in the greatest good for this community that I'm trying to serve and grow. And then you just have blind faith that that's going to work out. out, that other human beings will connect with it and that it will grow and that the profits, at least in order to sustain itself and sustain your own livelihood, will follow. So hearing you talk about, you're like, don't follow us for business advice. I'm like, but really you should. Everybody should, because those are the best ideas and the ones that end up being some of the most successful. And however you define success, for me, that would be that you are helping a community, that you're providing a space for a lonely woman to come and talk to her neighbors, that you're providing a healthy space for a couple to come back together as a family, that you're protecting the environment and you're supporting 45 small businesses. That's incredible. So I think your business
Right.
model is sort of what every other organization should be basing their business models off of.
Mhm.
That was my first thought. My
Mhm.
second question was the food produce boxes for World Central Kitchen. What is that?
Something we're really excited about. So our community was deeply impacted by the Palisades fire in January 2024. We were one of the immediate kind of relief response organizations for when our community was able to return to Topanga. So we were closed for 5 weeks due to the fires. And as soon as we were able to open, we provided like a central location for Topanga residents to receive resources in order to be able to get back on their feet. A collection of homes were lost in Topanga, but there was also a lot of non-tangible kind of impact, like a lot of displacement. A lot of
Mhm.
jobs were lost. A lot of work was lost. People were moved out due to their homes being damaged but not actually burnt down. It was the community was turned upside down, and we needed a central location where we could provide resources.
Mhm.
One major piece of that was a partnership with World Central Kitchen, which is by far one of the most incredible organizations functioning today in our world. Look them up if you don't know anything about them. They are
Incredible.
unreal. Like their model is unreal. But they helped us, our little farmers market in Topanga, California. They provided us with funding so that we could pay our farmers to buy healthy organic produce from our farmers to keep their farms running after the fires, which was they were also experiencing like really low sales because the whole city of Los Angeles was a hard place. And then we provided that produce to families that lost their homes, people who were displaced, to people who are struggling financially due to the fires. So we were every week we were distributing free produce. We tried a bunch of different models. One day, which was incredible, we were able to buy out the first day back.
Back, yeah.
We were able to buy out the entire agricultural row of our farmers market and literally make every single piece of produce free. So anyone who came to the market could just gather free produce and bring it home and start back. Everyone just came back from being evacuated for over 2 weeks, and then they got all this beautiful fresh produce to bring back to where they were resettling. So that was incredible. And then we kind of morphed the model from there, where we were giving produce boxes, so curated produce boxes to like a list of people who requested like support.
Mhm.
And then the list has dwindled since then because our community has over the past year recovered, but there is still a large group of people who are still struggling and need support. That specific group that we've identified is a group of seniors in Topanga that are housebound, that have difficulty leaving their homes and don't have a lot of resources that are coming to their homes. So we are delivering a organic produce box to their homes every Friday morning with the support of the World Central Kitchen. That funding runs out
Wow.
at the end of December 2024. So Freddie and I are in the process.
25.
Sorry, 2025. At the end of
25.
this
Yeah.
year, end of this year, the funding runs out. So we have like 3 more months of funding for that project. So Freddie and I are currently thinking of creative ideas to try to raise more money so that we can keep it going, because now we have this group of 25 seniors who are reliant on our box of produce coming to their house every Friday morning. It's not easily replaceable. So we need to raise $500 a week in order to keep that program running. And we are using all volunteer labor. We have some incredible Topanga locals who are packing the boxes, shopping for the food from the farm vendors, and then we have lots of volunteers then delivering those boxes every Friday morning to the seniors' homes.
Awesome.
So yeah, we need to figure out the funding stream for that in 2026.
Mhm.
Okay. So we need $500 a week. That's one way that people can help. Is there
Mhm.
do you need more volunteer drivers? Do you need anything else in that area? And then
Right.
separately, also, do you need reusable tote bags? Because that is a very commonly donated thing that we receive.
Hmm. Well, yes and yes. So we actually had a really amazing outpouring of volunteer support. So at the moment, we're fine with volunteers for
Okay.
the packing, assembling of the boxes, thanks to like our incredible and committed volunteers. The delivery, if you've been to Topanga, you know it's a little bit of a unique community. Driving around, finding addresses, finding little homes that are like tucked away in the mountains is not for the faint of heart. So
No.
we're reserving that role for locals who know the neighborhoods, because it's actually like the terrain is not your
It's a little
typical
wild.
delivery.
When
Yeah, the
we were
directions are
first starting Composed Living, we had a client in Topanga, like way up on the top of a
yeah.
hill, and I drove like a small sedan at that time. And
Mhm.
there was a moment where, and it was also like a lowered car. It was not functional for the work of an organizer, but we were just going out to like scope out the house and was like, I don't need a big truck for this. And there was a moment like turning onto their road where it can only fit one car, but it's a two-lane road.
Sounds
And the angle was so steep that I was like, are we going to flip over backwards? It's like
Yeah.
I had such panic just being like, we're
You
literally
should.
just gonna like start going up this hill and then just like I was like, that can't be. Like people drive on this every day. It has to work somehow with physics, but it was terrifying.
Yeah.
we experience that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have nothing against non-local volunteers. It's just we're reserving the delivery role for
Yeah.
locals who are comfortable navigating
Yeah.
special
The
Topanga
terrain.
terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I would have anxiety.
Yeah. We don't want to put anyone in
But
it.
yeah, in terms of reusable tote bags, we would actually love to take you up on that.
Cool.
Is we have a take a bag, leave a bag box at our booth, at our manager's booth, and customers often will forget their bags or, end up buying more than they can carry. So we love to provide a reusable bag at the front. So if you
Mhm.
have, we would love to take those reusable tote bags off your hands because we'll put them to
Awesome.
good use. We go through many,
I'm
many
sure.
bags every. And then for the seniors delivery project, right now we're using cardboard boxes and then asking the seniors to return them to us, but we're having a hard time recollecting all of them. As you can imagine, like the return rate's not as high as the receiving rate.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Like the
we're
size
trying
of
to
a banker's box or smaller?
exactly.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
even a little small.
Yeah, so we're either trying to source more like reusable boxes or like a insulated, if you get insulated bags donated, that could work too. But yeah, we will
Cool.
put those to use.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
but
will create a bin for you in our store. Those are all things that we receive quite often. I'm sure you can imagine like decluttering someone's kitchen and then you find all their reusable totes and they're like, why do I have all of these? I don't need a
Even
hundred.
super helpful.
Even paper bags, like when you go to the store and you
Hmm.
forget your bags, and you have to shamefully say, "Oh yes, I do need bags." Paper bags that are stuffed in people's kitchen cabinets, if you find those when you are organizing, we will take all your paper bags.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
cool.
get in from our
Oh
bin
yeah, like
too. I
probably
mean,
like 20 a week. Like
yeah.
people just grab them because they would rather use those than like juggle their produce, or if they
Yeah.
forget their bags, they.
Yeah, sometimes even when our one of our farmers has their plastic bags and they've forgotten their paper bags, they'll come and grab a stack of like Trader
Mhm.
Joe's and Whole Foods paper bags from our bin and they'll just put, the apples or the carrots in there instead.
I love it. I love seeing things being used more than once. As far as
Yeah.
donating cash, is there like an online platform? Do you take money, like all the things in person only? What's the vibe?
Definitely. So right now we just launched our 2026 sponsorship drive. So our farmers market is unique in that Topanga's not an incorporated town or city. We're an unincorporated territory of Los Angeles County. So we don't have a city government. So the funding streams are a little different. Like farmers markets in Santa Monica, Mar Vista, they all receive funding from their municipality where they're located. We don't have that luxury. So because we're off the beaten path a little bit, we we are part of LA County, and we have been supported by Lindsay Horvath's office, county supervisor, but we still need to, our model requires us to do a lot of our own fundraising to cover our operating costs. So our sponsorship drive is a really exciting opportunity for small businesses or businesses that are looking to have visibility with the Topanga community or our broader customer base. So that's an opportunity that you can find on our, I guess by emailing us would be the best way to get in touch with us about sponsorship opportunities. And that's how we're raising money. But if you would just like to be a supporter of the market financially and to support our senior box program, you can also just email us. I think that's the best way.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're a
Options.
501c3.
We can give you all the
Yeah, we're a
options.
501c3, just like your Compose giving arm. And so any financial contribution is tax deductible to the farmers market.
Awesome. I'll make sure your email address is in the show notes and easy for everybody to find. What a beautiful program. I mean, the whole thing is such a beautiful program, but I didn't know about the senior produce box that's happening. Uh, and I learned, I mean, I follow Rural Central Kitchen, uh, sort of like they're always in the background of I get their newsletter and Instagram and all the things. And then I watched, have you seen Chef's Table on Netflix? I also love,
Yes.
it's not a cooking show really, but the episode with Jose Andres was so beautiful. And I was like, this man, what a beautiful heart and so much energy. And he just kind of keeps on giving and giving. So that was a great episode if anybody is interested in learning a little bit more about the founder of that organization and some of the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I think one part that we've appreciated tremendously, they're not a relief organization that just helps during the disaster or immediately after the disaster. They make sure that the support they provide is sustainable and ongoing so that once they leave, the community's not still struggling or left in the same place that they were before they arrived. So all the programs that they set in place are like meant to last and meant to continue providing support. So they start like community gardens, or the last step of their Los Angeles program is to give out native seeds to be planted for edible and non-edible native seeds. So which is so like symbolic, but it's also like one of the most sustainable ways that you could set up a community for success. And they use that same model in Ukraine, but they also use it in Los Angeles. Now they're implementing it in Los Angeles. So in our farmers market, it's going to be one of the places where they distribute seeds. So it's just like this full circle, beautiful way of supporting a community that needs support after a natural disaster or war.
They also really worked with us and talked to the small businesses, our business included, in the community, and figured out how they could serve not only the citizens, but the businesses that really, rely on the community support. Because the businesses, even after the fires with the road closure, because a lot of the boulevard between the town and the ocean burned. And so it impacted the number of customers traveling through the canyon. And so World Central Kitchen was, I know, a huge lifeline for not only the farmers market, but for like at least 20, 30 other businesses in the canyon, I'm sure. They worked with us instead of just, buying produce in bulk from somewhere else and bringing it in and distributing it to citizens, which would have been amazing. They came and talked to us and said, well, we want to give produce to the citizens, but we also want to help your business. So how can we do that? And luckily, they were totally open to buying the produce from our farm. So rather than, unknowingly undercutting us, they actually helped our market thrive, and they helped the citizens of Topanga thrive. So we were really grateful just that they spoke with us and worked with us and used our market as a hub for that. And I've seen them do that throughout the canyon with different other businesses. So
and also all over Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They're doing for Altadena and the Palisades,
yeah,
supporting a community from within, and then making sure that that support is lasting instead of dumping relief on top and then disappearing. It's like a very ground up.
Yeah, hugely considerate organizations.
That's so beautiful. And I love that now you have this this new element to your farmers market where you can continue to help people in your community. And I'm sure that you will easily come up with the resources to make sure that that keeps going. Wow.
Yeah, we have the
I'm just so
resources, we have
inspired.
the structure. We just need the financial support to keep sponsoring these seniors. I mean, for a lot of them, I can't speak for all of them, but it's a lot of them, it's the highlight of their week. Not only are they getting a huge box of free produce, they're getting a visit from a community member. And a lot of times these volunteers over the past, how many months? Like 8 to 9 months that we've been doing this, have, they've been the same volunteer that they see every week. I deliver one to my neighbor, and it's kind of brought a new level of connection to our relationship. So they look forward to it. We don't want to see it end. we love this program so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of our volunteers even like does some handiwork for the seniors that he delivers the boxes to. Like one of the seniors' pilot lights was out and her house was smelling like propane, and he went in, relit the pilot light, gave her box of produce, and those connections weren't there before. Just letting people know, did you know in your neighborhood you have 4 seniors who can't leave their homes, and just having that awareness, strengthening those like face-to-face bonds between neighbors that are so often not present anymore in our society. That's what's going to allow us to have, like what you said, heal communities to come together. Now I personally learned that I have neighbors that need to be checked in on, and I wouldn't have known that unless we were deeply involved in like the fire relief efforts and helping to make sure everyone's needs were met.
Wow. It makes my heart so happy hearing all of the stories. We're so bombarded with so much negativity that happens around the world that it's easy to overlook all of the beautiful things that people are doing in communities like Topanga and all around the world where there's so much love and generosity and, keeps me hopeful for the next generation of people. I'm so happy to have learned more about what you're doing. I would love to talk to you both offline about how we can support. Uh, I would love to I know we've talked about this in the past, that Compose Giving I'd happily come and talk about what we're doing, and if there's a way that we can be a resource for the community any more than we are already involved, I would be delighted. We're so close, we're neighbors.
Mhm.
Uh, Yeah, and thank you both so much. Thank you for sharing your journey, all of the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you for doing the work. I also am so inspired by people who see a problem and just dive right in to figure out how to come up with a solution. And I think it's probably ideal that you didn't know what you were getting yourself into, like you said.
It was a good
Sometimes
Blind.
that's the only way to get it done. I feel very much the same about launching, becoming a 501c3 and the amount of paperwork that is involved in maintaining that status. It like really surprises me that there's as many charities that exist as there are, because it's complicated and unnecessarily so when you're just trying to help your community. But thank you for taking the time to learn how to do all of that and to actually do it. And I'm so excited and honored to be a part of your journey, and I look forward to supporting you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you, Elsa.
We look forward to continued collaboration with you and all your amazing work.
Same. Thank you both again so much.